Alright guys, and with Evil Dead Rise coming out tomorrow, probably at the time when I post this video, I wanted to rank the Evil Dead series, which is one of those series that I always enjoyed, but I don't know if I ever really talk about it much because it's kind of like a good series, but not one that I actually grew up with. I watched these later in my late teens and then kind of got into the series since then. And so looking at this list, we have Evil Dead 1, 2, 3, Army of Darkness, Evil Dead the remake, and then Evil Dead each season, which I'm just going to combine them all into one ranking when I get to them, because as I watched the show, I enjoyed it, but if you told me today, like, to break each season up, I can't really remember which season was which in terms of, like, the quality. I just remember big points of each of the show, or big points during the entire show. So anyway, I'm really excited to talk about these movies, because these are movies I got into later in my life, and it was actually nice to do that because sometimes when you watch them as a kid, they kind of get nostalgia and then you just never let go of the hope. And in this, I feel like I can actually honestly rate each one pretty fair. And you can see my rankings is Hail to the King, which would be just amazing. Groovy is pretty damn good. Good is, well, good. Means could have been better. Abomination means a poopy pants, and Mr. Fancy Pants means stinky winky. If you're still with me so far, you are awesome. Thank you so much. I love you. If you left, I understand. Alright, so let's start off with Evil Dead the original now. Evil Dead is a very, very low budget movie, and when you watch it, you feel it, and you know it. And guess what? I love this movie. I think that it really does stand the test of time. It is probably the scariest of all the movies in my opinion. It definitely has the most disgusting body horror for the low budget it had. Now there are other movies in the series that are more disturbing when it comes to the blood effects and tearing the skin and eyeballs and all that stuff, but in terms of just like the raw effect of this movie, it is visceral. It feels like that old style body horror that I love in movies. It kind of reminds me of The Fly in that sense. Saying that, I also think it is the darkest of the movies, since maybe the remake has a little bit of that, but it's definitely the darkest, the least funniest, but it works for the tone that this movie was going for, and I absolutely think this movie is great. Now, I do think it has aged. You know, some of the acting is wow, and it is low budget, so it almost feels like a very indie movie of today's standards, you know, back then. And Sam Raimi, I think, is a very, very talented director. I think he was still finding his place and trying to show you what he's capable of, and I think that's a good starting point. I think this is better than good. I have to go with groovy. I don't think it's Hail to the King, because I don't think it's the best in the series, but I do think it's a very, very solid, great movie 90% of the time, save a couple of points here or there. So, Evil Dead, you're going in groovy. Yeah, I definitely can't do his voice. So Evil Dead 2 is interesting because you really don't have to watch Evil Dead to watch Evil Dead 2. Evil Dead 2 is almost like a soft remake. I don't want to say soft reboot, but it kind of is in a way. It's a weird movie when you watch it. It has a lot of the same plot points from the first one, but does its own twist. I also think 2 adds in the signature humor that you expect from Sam Raimi at this point now. If you watch all his stuff now and you go back, you're like, yeah, this is the movie where he kind of started to feel himself as like, this is who I am, and put his stamp on creating a movie. And this movie is absolutely fantastic. This is the one movie in this franchise that I've seen more than, let's see, if I had to guess, maybe about 10 times. And I still enjoy it every time. I do think it's a higher budget movie than the first one. It's got more of the Sam Raimi effect than the first one. It's just as scary as the first one. Not as raw, in my opinion, but still just as scary. Sam Raimi movies aren't really scary. I just love the atmosphere, and I think this one captures the atmosphere even better than the first one, and it's funny, and so that's great. So as every good ingredient, as better acting, Bruce Campbell really comes to life as Ash in this movie. This is, to me, the top tier when it comes to Evil Dead, and this deserves to be Hail to the King. Bada boom. So Army of Darkness is a movie that I think when I watch it, I appreciate what it's going for. I think why it has such a great cult following makes sense. I do not think it's an awful movie, like crafted or anything. I just don't think it's for me. I don't think this movie is that funny. I don't think it's scary. I think it's a little too goofy for me. This is just not the one that I enjoy. Now, this definitely, you know, turned more towards the fantasy setting idea with some horror and humor, but it just didn't work. I didn't feel the same feeling I felt when I watched 1 and 2. Saying that, I do applaud Sam Raimi. I think he's the one who directed this one too, to go a different direction, to try something way different. And I think that's why this movie has such a big cult following, is because it is so different. And you don't even have to like the first two to kind of appreciate this one. I think that is super smart when it comes to making a trilogy sometimes, is going a totally different direction and seeing what the people think. And I think Army of Darkness definitely feels way different, but for me, not in a good way. I don't think this is an abomination. I don't think this is Mr. Fancy Pants, Pee-Pee Pants, but I do think it's in the not really my cup of tea. Now, talking about Evil Dead, the remake, this movie actually makes me want to make another list about remakes, because they get a bad rep. I think, bad rap. And I do think that there are bad remakes. That's just how it goes. But I do think remakes can possibly do things better than an original movie. And I think perfect examples are The Thing, The Fly, so many more. And Evil Dead is another movie where I don't think it's better than the original, but I think it's right up there. I really enjoy this movie. If you're looking for a darker version of the first one, and obviously a way higher budget, I think this movie fulfills that. I think the acting, you know, being that it's much later and the actors are just more prone to give a better performance, I think the acting in this really good. I think the twist on Ash is really cool in this movie. That really was a nice surprise. I think the murders and the kills in this movie are great. I will say, when I saw the trailer, I thought this was going to be one of my favorite horror movies of all time. I think the trailer is quite possibly top 10 horror trailers ever. So I don't think the movie lived up to it. So when I initially saw this, I enjoyed it, but I didn't love it. Watching it multiple times after that, and watching it with my wife maybe about 3 years ago, I still enjoyed this movie. I still think it's really good. I think it's a groovy good time. My problem with this movie is that it just never beats out what came before it. It's pretty much on par with it. And that kind of sucks, because I think when I saw the trailer, I was like, oh, this looks horrifying. Like, I'm really scared of this movie. So yeah, that's my only big problem with it. But other than that, I think it's a great remake. I'm really surprised when some people don't bring this up in discussion, but to me, this is a lot of fun to watch. It's definitely fucked up, and it's definitely more back to the roots of the first one, which was much appreciated in my opinion. After 2 and then 3 especially went way bonkers for me. So yeah, I'm going to put that in the groovy. I'm going to put it behind 1 because I think 1 had a bigger impact, but overall, I think it does deserve to be there. So Evil Dead, or Ash vs. Evil Dead, is a weird thing for me. So I think the first episode of Ash vs. Evil Dead is groovy. I think it's great. I think it captures what I liked about Evil Dead 2. It feels the most like that for me. And yeah, I love it. And then after that, I just kind of became prone to just kind of watching it. I think as the show went on, it got a little weaker for me. Season 2 I enjoyed probably the most, or I would say the beginning of season 1 was my favorite. Then season 2 as a whole was the most interesting. Season 3 really teetered off for me in terms of just keeping my interest overall. I think the problem with the show is that it never really felt like it fully tried to do anything new with this universe that I think it could have. So saying that, I enjoy the show. I think it's I think that it might have been better as a 2-season, like a 2 mini or max series, whatever you call it on TV. But I do think it's good. I think it's a good, fun time. If you enjoy Evil Dead 1, 2, and 3, I think this is an enjoyable show. And saying that, I think the budget's good. I think the acting's solid. And overall, it's a good show. But I can't give it anything higher than that. So I'm going to put all the seasons in there. And if you guys wanted to just know my ranking of the seasons, I'd say season 1 probably is my favorite for just the first half, but season 2 I think is the most consistently good, and season 3 is just okay. That's my view for those 3. So yeah, that's my list of Evil Dead. Now, Evil Dead is a very solid franchise. I don't think there's anything bad. I don't think there's anything abomination level. I don't think there's anything Mr. Fancy Pants, Pee-Pee Pants. I think it's overall a good series. I think even the worst, Army of Darkness, is still a watchable film that could have a good time. I just personally didn't like the direction it went. That's all. But what do you guys think? Do you think this is the greatest horror franchise to ever touch cinema? Or do you think this is just a piece of shit and that nobody should fucking watch these shows, movies, whatever? You list your opinion below because I love to hear it. And everybody else, if you like this video, hit that little... I don't think it does that. I think it's like a check mark plus thumbs. So hit the like button. And if you love me, hit the subscribe button. I love doing these videos for movies, video games, TV shows, and of course, comics. That's my big thing on this channel. So if you like any of that stuff and you love Daredevil, join me. And everybody else, have a wonderful day. I'm going to do a little kiss now. I don't know why I did that. I got to stop. I just got to do a fucking outro and never talk.